To be bowling well.
Last week it was Gary Santora eliminating Steve Plant 397 to 370. Let's meet our bowlers this afternoon as we continue to climb the ladder. Last week's winner, our 5th seed, Gary Santora from Auburn, Massachusetts.
Gary Santora coming in with an average of 125 to this week's competition. 193 is his high single. His high triple is 466. Colonial Lanes in Worcester is where he bowls. He's a bowler of 25 years so far.
And he will be taking on our 4th seed, Shawn Baker from Lynn, Massachusetts, the 23-year-older who rolled a 396 to win his championship match.
And that was just a couple of weeks ago. Dick, congratulations to him. His average is 127. High single, 213. Triple, 464. Lucky Strike Lanes in Lynn is where Shawn Baker does his league bowling.
We have $1,325 in our triple strike jackpot, $50 in our bonus ball contest. It's week 2 of the Tournament of Champions. Let's get right to it. Great crowd on hand. It's Shawn Baker and Gary Santora. We're back with today's match in just a minute from Lena Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on WNDS TV's Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Week 2 of the Tournament of Champions at Lena Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. As you look at the participants in our tournament, Steve Plant eliminated last week by Gary Santora, now Shawn Baker. And Santora will meet in the second match. Don Richmond, Rich Clark, and Jack Ray await as we climb the ladder looking for a Tournament of Champions winner. Gary Santora first to bowl here at Lena Lanes, in our first ball is on the head pin, and the crowd tries to break up the split for Gary Santora, but can't do it.
I'd love to give that $1,325 away that you spoke of a little earlier. We haven't given that triple strike money away all season.
And Santora will not convert the spare.
But I can't tell you, by the time we're done in a few weeks, our total prize money for the season, $17,325 for this year. 3,000 of it coming over the Tournament of Champions.
Santora in the pocket in the second box looking for a mark. Gary's 43 years old, and he'll miss the spare just barely. A senior technician with Stratus Computers, married to Michelle. Bowls out of the Colonial Lanes in Worcester. And he starts with a 19.
Well, he is currently up against one of the hottest bowlers these days, Shawn Baker, winning lots of money.
Shawn really attacks the pins, as you will see, a contrast in styles. Spread eagle to start out for Shawn. And with the action he gets off the sidewall, anything is possible for Shawn Baker. And an 8-box for Shawn. A nice letter from Jermaine Bernier of Rochester, New Hampshire. And we'll call attention to the guys in the truck as we read the letter from Mrs. Bernier. As Shawn Baker with a 9-pin drop and a solid 7-pin still standing. She doesn't understand why, when a bowler is waiting for rolling wood to stop, the camera focuses on the bowler instead of on the pins. We'd like to know where the wood stops also. Spare for Shawn Baker. Well, the difficulty with that, Ms. Bernier, is we just can't always know when it's going to stop, and there's some guesswork involved in coming back and forth to the bowler and to the pin, and more often than not, our guys are right on the action. And I'll give him credit where it's due. But the criticism is well taken, and thank you for writing in and watching Candlepin Stars and Strikes every week on WNDS TV. Gary Santora tries to pick up a tough spare.
Don't wait too long, Gary, because Shawn is going to cut loose here pretty soon. I just have that feeling.
10 box for Gary Santora. Well, we've seen Gary Santora cut loose. He had a 397 last week, which is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, a pair of 140 games in there with a 117.
This time a spread eagle +1. The 8-pin is still alive back there.
So he'll go for the 3 on the right. And just punches out the 6-pin, still half the rack +1. Is staring in the face.
And he'll take an 8-box. 37 through the first 4 boxes for Gary Santora. Now Shawn Baker working on a spare.
Shawn Baker, the number 9 rated WCBC Bowler of the Year for the 98-99 season.
On the head pin, but not much to show. The 5, 7, and 10 with some wood. An early 6-pin lead for Shawn Baker over Gary Santora. I want to thank all of you who have written in over the past several weeks, and a lot of the people who have been writing in have been sending along accompanying articles and photographs. Look at that spare for Shawn Baker. Played it perfectly. Watch it one more time. He played the wood perfectly. And as Tom Heinsohn would say, bing, bang, boom, they were gone. Look at that thin hit. Still a lot of action, and they're still falling. It started out as about a 3-pin fall on the initial contact, and then just things started mixing up.
Does he look like a man possessed or what out there, Dick?
It's a $50 shot for Shawn Baker. That time he didn't get the action. So he'll not get the bonus money. And he'll settle for a 9-box. And a 15-pin lead after 4 boxes for Shawn Baker over Gary Santora. Some of the articles and some of the accompanying material, encyclopedia printouts on the history of Candlepin bowling, have been greatly appreciated and very informative. Santora tries to convert the spare, doesn't get it.
And if you go onto your computer, you can actually find a couple of Candlepin bowling websites. There aren't too many, but there are a couple. Tried it a few weeks ago myself.
I handed you an item that was sent in by one of our bowlers.
Yeah, Jim Grigatis actually sent us a printout of some of the things that he found on the World Wide Web.
Candlepin bowling invented in Worcester, my hometown.
That's right. The game is a tad older than you, though, I think we should point out. No,
Look at Santora try to convert the spare, and almost. But the encyclopedia article that Jim Grigatis sent in really fills you in on some of the details involving the history of Candlepin bowling.
He also points out, P.S., I think my 422 total is still the highest losing total this year. Yeah, that hurts, huh, Jim? We'll see you back, I'm sure. Thank you for sending this along to us.
Shawn Baker. He punishes the lane, doesn't he?
He's got a nice pin right in the middle of that cluster, which is the diamond plus the 10. Missed the object thing.
I think you heard the groan as soon as he left, the ball left his hand.
Doesn't take long for that ball to get down to the fins. He really fires it. And he's giving Gary Santora a few chances to hang on here till Gary can get started. And another spread eagle. That's how he started in frame 1. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10.
$7.
Runner-up money today is $200. Our winner goes on to play number 3 seed Don Richmond next week.
A 13-pin lead for Shawn Baker over Gary Santora. And Gary's left with his difficult shot, a split. The 3, 6, and 10 still on the deck for Gary Santora. Well, he tried to cut that 3-pin over, but missed it on the left side. That'll be a 7 box for Gary Santora as he matches the 7 that Shawn Baker put on the board last frame. That's a strike for Gary Santora. That took no time flat for all of them to go down. Right in the 1-3 pocket. You'll see it again. They were gone in a hurry. Gordon Candlepin from Derry, New Hampshire sent in a newspaper clipping, Michael, that we'll take a look at from Canada. There's Shawn Baker responding with a strike. From the Coast Guard is the name of the publication as you watch the replay of Shawn Baker's strike. It's from Shelburne, Nova Scotia, and on the front page, 2 ladies over 90 observing a birthday, and it's in between strings of a bowling match where they're cutting the cake.
The headline reads, over 90 and breaking 100. First of all, breaking 100 is not that easy for most people, but to be doing it over 90, congratulations.
There's Shawn Baker with a double mark. A spare goes inside the strike. So the bowlers warm up a little bit as Gary Santora with his first mark of the first string. It was a strike, now working on that strike in the 9th frame. He's on the headpin, but a little too full. He gets a break with the wood, though. The wood is very favorable for Gary right here. With the 2, the 4, the 7, and the 9. And there they go.
A couple of these bowlers, their ages 92 and 94, Dick.
Here's the replay of the Gary Santora spare. He has an opportunity at bonus money. He did not collect any bonus money last week, although he came close several times. That time he threw it past the headpin, but got a pretty good break and a pretty good count on the spare. Put 7 in the spare. And he's got an opportunity for a mark here. Headpin is key. He's on the headpin. He missed the headpin. He just threw it past the headpin on the left side.
Appeared to be a little cautious on that shot.
That's where he wanted it to go the last time. A 10 box and a 109 first string for Gary Santora, well below his average and well below last week's average of 132 and change in his win over Steve Plant. Shawn Baker working on a double mark. He'll put 7 in the spare, working on a big first string. He's already at 105, 112. There's a spare. 115 plus a ball in the 9th. $50 in bonus money for Shawn Baker. Each additional spare added on will earn him $20 on the headpin. You wonder how those 4 pins still stand. The 4, 6, 7, and 10. Everything else in the middle is gone. He wipes out the left side. He is at 129. 131 first string for Shawn Baker. And a 22-pin lead over Gary Santora as we head to the middle string in this second match of our Tournament of Champions on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. On WNDS TV, we're back to Leda Lanes in Nashua right after this. Shawn Baker will start the second string at Leda Lanes in Nashua, taking a 22-pin lead over Gary Santora into string number 2. Great crowd on hand at Leda Lanes for the Tournament of Champions. On WNDS TV, Dick Lutz with Mike Morin. Our entire WNDS TV 50 crew. Our director is Ken Knight. Working audio, Larry Taylor. On the tape, Dave McCarthy. Graphics being handled by Lisa Law. On video is Paul Hunter. Our camera crew, Steve Giordani, Kevin LaFond, and Brian Butler, all here at Leda Lanes, making it all possible for you to watch Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV, and we're happy to have you with us for this second match in our Tournament of Champions, as Shawn Baker gets a 9 in the first frame. In the pocket that time, an 8-pin drop and a spare opportunity with the 6 and the 9 still standing.
I'd like to mention the WCBC Annual Awards Night Banquet coming up on June the 12th. The reason I mention it is the public is invited to attend this year. It's the annual presentation of awards for the bowlers who've been on tour for 6 various events. This year's special, they will be honoring, the WCBC will, the people that really started Candlepin bowling on television, and that would be Don Gillis and the old Channel 5 crew. The special presentation Saturday night, June the 12th, at the Crestview, which is on Montvale Avenue in Woburn. Cocktail hour starts at 6, and yes, it is open to the public. Your $30 ticket will include awards, dinner, dancing, and a few surprises, and a lot of familiar faces. So if you'd like to go, I'm going to give you a phone number here in just a second.
Gary Santora to lane 34 after Shawn Baker missed a spare opportunity and had to settle for a 10. Gary Santora now with a pretty good spare chance of his own. He will take the spare. He took it the hard way, but he'll take the spare, playing the deadwood on the nose. What's that phone number?
You'd want to get in touch with Paul Wambach, who is the president of the WCBC. Paul Wambach at 508-757-2185. That's 757-2185 and area code 508 to see the annual awards dinner in June, and to congratulate the old Channel 5 crew for really a fine job over 38 years.
Gary Santora missed the spare opportunity that he had right there. That sounds like a great night. I might like to go to that myself on the 12th of June. 10 bucks. I've never met Don Gillis face to face. Had him as a guest on my radio show in Boston on the phone several times, talking about bowling, as a matter of fact, when bowling occurrences warranted.
I really get a sense of a genuine affection from the bowlers and the viewers to Don Gillis because of his sincerity. He really did seem to enjoy the game and did a wonderful job. What can you say for somebody who did it for over 35 years?
I remember having him on the radio show when Stacia Zernicke died. And we reminisced about her contribution to Candlepin bowling over the years. Here's Shawn Baker with a spare. He missed an easy one in the third frame, and in the second frame rather, and comes back with a difficult one in the third box. Watch this, a lot of wood on the deck. It was a little bit easier than it first looked for Shawn. First mark of the second string. Solid 5-pin still stands. Everything went around it, but the 5-pin never budged.
You mentioned Stacia Zernicke, the late Stacia Zernicke. Her husband, Tony Zernicke, is here after being confined to hospital care and being at home for a couple of months. Feeling much better, and he made it for today's taping, and we're so glad that Tony is up and around, and he thanks everybody for the cards that he received as a result of us mentioning him being at home.
All right, Gary Santora tries to respond to the double mark put on the board by Shawn Baker. And Santora will miss the spare, but just barely.
Tough break.
He can't believe it. It'll be a 9 box for Gary. He needs a mark just to keep pace with Shawn Baker right now.
He's not getting killed, but Shawn Baker is just, you know, slowly adding to his lead, frame by frame.
A lot of wood on the deck, and he's going to need to use it.
Yeah, 7 of the 10 pins still up, at least on the plate.
That'll be a spare for Gary Santora as we go to the break. It's Shawn Baker in the lead over Gary Santora. It's week 2 of the Tournament of Champions on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. We're back to Leda Lanes in just a moment. Shawn Baker steps to lane 34 at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. He has a 24-pin lead in the match. Both Shawn and Gary Santora working on marks. in the fourth frame as another 5-pin staring Shawn Baker in the face. You wonder how that 5-pin manages to survive with all of the action going on around it.
You can probably hear the gallery getting pretty rowdy, hoping that Shawn Baker can hook up with some bonus money here.
And he earns $50 right there. That's $100 in the match. He had $50 in the first string.
23 years of age. What a future this man has ahead of him in the Candlepin game. Let's hope that the game survives and thrives for people like Shawn Baker and others who will come after him.
Spread eagle right there. He puts 4 in the spare. I want to tell you about the Kahala Chinese restaurant on Amherst Street in Nashua, right next door to Lita Lanes. As 3 go down on the left side, the 3 remain on the right side. The Kahala has a luncheon buffet every Monday through Saturday from 11:45 to 2 p.m. Just $5.95 for all you can eat. The dinner buffet on Thursday from 5 to 8 and Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. is terrific. The service is great. The food is always wonderfully prepared. Specials every day, and the buffet for lunch is something you just don't want to miss. So if you're in the area, if you're coming to Bowl at Lita Lanes or shopping in Nashua, why not check out the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge right next door to Lita Lanes on Amherst Street in Nashua. If you're coming from the south, exit 7W off the Everett Turnpike. If you're coming from the Manchester area, take exit 8 and head for Lita Lanes, and you will see the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge. The phone number 603-889-5200. 889-5200. And they're open daily at 11:30 a.m. for delicious Chinese and Polynesian cuisine, and the lunch buffet Monday through Saturday from 11:45 to 2. The dinner buffet on Thursday from 5 to 8 and Sunday from noon to 8 p.m. Try the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge on Amherst Street in Nashua. Oh, look at that opportunity.
Too fine.
Gary Santora, he cut it too fine. You don't see that happen very often.
At 10 for Gary Santora, keeps him 9 pins behind Shawn Baker in this game. 31 overall in the match. We're about halfway through now. And Shawn Baker continues to add to his lead. Thought I'd mention how the Easter Sunday singles worked out here 3 weeks ago. You're looking at the winner right now, Shawn Baker, $5,000. That's a 20-string tournament, grueling. Need lots of stamina. Number 2 is a bowler we'll see in a couple weeks, Rich Clark. Congratulations to Rich. Jeff Atkins, who we saw several times last year. Mikey Morgan came in 4th place in the Easter Sunday tournament. Dick, Kevin Davis, we've had him on not too long ago. Steve Vadney came in 6th place. Mike Poulin, 7th place. Number 8, Gary Carrington. Chris Sargent in 9th, and Sean Mortson in 10th place.
Baker in the head pin, and here's a strike for Shawn Baker in the 8th frame. His first strike of this string. We'll watch it again. It doesn't take long for all of them to bite the dust. Second strike of the match, first strike of the second string for Shawn Baker, and Gary Santora tries to answer, and he does.
And the same kind of strike where the 6 pin was the last to go down.
Watch it again. Santora crosses over to the Brooklyn side. Good mixing action, and a strike. First strike of the string for Gary Santora, second strike of the match. That's in the pocket, a little thin on the 1-3 hit. 5-pin fall, but another ball to go to fill the strike. Yeah, he's got a shot at it, but the 7-pin still stands. He put it right where he wanted to. He has been denied a couple of spares that did not seem justified. And that'll be a 10 box. Shawn Baker at 98 plus a couple of balls on the strike. Lifetime off the head pin.
A nice note in the mail, Dick, from Edith Beller, who I'm going to guess lives on the North Shore, sending along a clipping of the basketball team at General Electric Darts and Parts, the name of the team, and a couple of familiar faces out of the 12 players on the team, Tom and Mike Morgan.
And an 8-box for Shawn Baker. He's at 113 through 9. This time he's looking for some help from the wood on the deck, and he's got a lot of help from the wood on the deck right now.
He really has left the door open for Gary Santora. After his 131 start, he'll need a spare here to even hit that again.
Wow, I don't know how that 10-pin is still standing. That's virtually impossible. 10 box and a 123, second string for Shawn Baker. Two-string total 254. And with a mark, Santora can pull closer.
A couple of marks could put him in the upper 130s. Be just about a mark behind.
Well, the 8-pin drop. The 4 and the 8 still standing. And the 4 still stands.
Lost opportunity there.
$10 for Gary Santora. Needs a mark to cut into the lead that Shawn Baker enjoyed after the first string. A 22-pin lead after the 1. A mark can cut into it. That's a good shot in the pocket, but the 5 and the 10 still stand.
So do you play the wood, Dick, or do you just go for the cut shot here?
He tried to cut it, and he's going to lose ground as it stands in the second string. It will be a 10 box and a 120 second string, 3 pins added to Shawn Baker's 22-pin lead after the first string. A 25-pin lead for Baker as we head to the final string of this second match in our Tournament of Champions from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. We continue. Don't you dare go away. Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. We're back after this. Gary Santora will be first to bowl in the third string. He trails Shawn Baker by 25 pins. 254 to 229. As we begin the final string of this second match in the Tournament of Champions, Santora in the pocket gets a break when the 7-pin goes down, and also has a break with some wood on the deck. He needs to mark. And he does to start off the third string.
Gary Santora turned into the 25th rated bowler on the WCBC Pro Tour from 1988-1999 of the many competitors. Cumulative score, 25th.
And Gary only puts 4 in the spare. I want to acknowledge a nice note sent in by Mr. and Mrs. George Sharp from Derry, New Hampshire, who watch our telecast every week of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Thank you very much for the nice note that you sent in. We appreciate hearing from you, and if you'd like to write to us, you can write to WNDS TV, Candlepin Stars and Strikes, 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire, 03038. A lot of mail comes to Leda Lanes, which happens to be in Nashua, New Hampshire. Of course, a different zip code. There's Shawn Baker starting out the third string very emphatically with a strike. Watch it again. It takes no time at all. There's the shot in the pocket, and there they go.
That always gets the crowd buzzing. Start a game off with a strike.
That's off the head pin to the right side.
He's been a little erratic today on a few of his shots. But when he's been on that head pin, he's been deadly. If there's not a split, it's usually a strike. 4 pins still standing.
Put 7 in the strike. And an 8 box. And he adds 2 pins to his lead. He leads by 27 pins now, with 8 boxes remaining.
$200 goes to our bowler today, who is the runner-up. Don Richmond awaits the winner of today's match for next week.
Now Gary Santora cannot let opportunities slide by, and he has an opportunity right here. The wood turns sideways. He's just going to have to make it cleanly, and he does.
Very nice follow-through on that shot. Nice, firm, crisp delivery. Very confident. 6 and the 9 are down. One, 2, 4. 7 Phil on his 3rd frame spare.
Nice shot, and he'll take the spare. For Gary Santora, 3 spares in the first 4 boxes of the 3rd string as Gary Santora tries to stay alive. Now Shawn Baker with a 9-pin drop. He does not have to be solidly in the pocket to get a lot of action off the side walls and everywhere else.
You see, he's won $100 in bonus money so far today.
That'll be a spare for Shawn Baker from Lynn, Massachusetts, bowling out of the Lucky Strike lanes in Lynn. An electrician's apprentice at Interstate Electric. Just 23 years old and single. Spread eagle. Just what Gary Santora did.
This is the 3rd or 4th one that Shawn Baker's had today, at least.
And he'll pick the 2-pin right off of it.
Shawn Baker defeated Tom Morgan to get to this particular point. 396 to 329 just 2 weeks ago.
That's a nice 9 box for Shawn to come out of it with the 9. And Gary Santora will come back working on a spare. He needs to continue to mark to get back into the match as we continue with week 2 of the Tournament of Champions on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNBS TV. We're back after this. Gary Santora working on a spare.
Actually, a couple of spares, so he's got a shot at bonus money today, which he has not taken advantage of.
He's gained back 2 pins plus whatever he gets on this ball, which is 8 more. So he's within 15 pins in the match right now. Big shot, big spare, $50 in bonus money for Gary Santora.
Responding very nicely to the pressure of not only the bonus money, but the fact that he's in a hole right now behind Shawn Baker in the late stages of the match.
4 marks, 5 boxes for Gary Santora. That's on the head pin, but thin, and a 5-pin drop.
He's gone on the right side thin almost every time on lane 33, and on a couple of occasions left that exact same pin setup.
Ooh, he just missed it. He shot it really well.
It's a shame.
Put it right where he wanted to and just didn't get it to go. That'll be a 10 box, but he needs marks. Shawn Baker steps to lane 34. Watch this miss. Put it right in the pocket, and that piece of wood just would not sweep the 8-pin away.
Yeah, it was the 2-pin that almost took it down. Touched it anyway.
Baker almost leaves the same set.
But he got the pin out of the back that Santora never got, and that was the 8-pin.
2, 4, 5, and 7 still standing. Now they're gone. Well, he matches the spare, which is certainly important for Shawn to maintain the lead. Missed the head pin. 4 horsemen right side. Missed it. The door is open for Gary Santora. $10. A 16-pin lead for Shawn Baker with 4 boxes remaining. Certainly not insurmountable. Well, that time he missed the head pin. Hasn't missed it very often, but he missed it right there.
And he doesn't usually miss it to the left side either. Only 3 pins on that one. There's the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10.
And $8 for Gary Santora. He cannot afford open frames. And that time he did overcompensate on 33, went to the left side of the head pin.
Just a bit of a lob, too. It was a legal shot. Came down before the lob line, but not quite as smooth as most of his deliveries.
Tough shot here. Yeah. He'll be open again. He's at 100 even through 8 boxes.
A couple of marks can put it out of reach here for Shawn Baker in the 7th frame. He's up against only 17 pins for the 2 frames from Gary Santora.
Right on the nose of the head pin. The 6 and the 7 remain with some wood on the deck. He gave it a shot, but he'll be open. But he picks up a couple pins as that 10 was opposite of Santora 8.
And really still leaves the door open for Gary Santora at this point.
Especially if he doesn't mark right here. But he will try to do something about that. Watch out, that piece of wood's coming back. This is a tough one to miss with the way the wood is. Gives him all sorts of different opportunities. That's a spare for Shawn Baker, and that'll just about put the match out of reach.
Not mathematically, but it would be a tough one for Gary Santora here.
So seed will hold again today, as it did last week. Santora needs to mark. And he missed it. And that'll just about do it. For all practical purposes, Shawn Baker will advance, climb up the ladder, and he'll take on 3rd seed Don Richmond. Seed holds true to form. Gary not able to convert there.
But they're still falling.
There they go.
1 and the 7 are still there.
He is at 118.
And his prize money today will be $200.
And he finishes with a 120. And a triple of 349. Shawn Baker is at 348 as we speak.
Think he can manage 2 pins and 2 frames?
Now we're looking at possible bonus money for Shawn as the reason to hold your interest.
It's a tough one here.
Well, he missed it.
It's the big 3 still there. 1, 7, 10.
108 with a box to go. Shawn Baker, the youngster from Lynn, the 4th seed, will meet Don Richmond, the 3rd seed, next week in week 3 of our Tournament of Champions. And he'll throw it right through the hole.
Doesn't matter.
He'll finish with a 5 box and a 113 and a 3-string total of 367. Shawn Baker beats Gary Santora 367 to 349 to advance to the 3rd week of our Tournament of Champions. We'll come back to meet the bowlers in just a moment as we continue with Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on WNDS TV. For the 2nd week in a row, the top seed holds serve in our Tournament of Champions as Shawn Baker defeats Gary Santora to move on to week 3 next week.
It really has been a year of top seeds. Actually, for our 6 previous ladder series or championship series to get here, it was always the top seed, the #1 bowler, as things started out to get to this point. So, as you point out, the pattern seems to be holding true.
Shawn Baker defeats Gary Santora 367 to 349. Let's bring out our runner-up this week, Gary Santora from Auburn, Massachusetts. Gary, a couple of $100 as the runner-up prize and $50 in bonus money. And funny how week to week it can change. In one week you can be on that head pin and get great leaves, and the next week it just isn't there.
Oh, yeah, in this game it can change in a hurry. And I started out going through the middle there in that 1st string, and I gave him a little bit too much of a lead. You can't do that against a guy like Shawn.
We noticed that you were having a little bit more difficulty on the left lane, lane 33, in getting the head pin. You were a little bit thin on the right side and tried to overcompensate a couple of times and go across the head pin. A little difficult getting used to that lane?
Well, not really. It's because I went through the middle on that lane a couple of times. I moved over a little bit, and then I just started hitting it thin. Yeah, I missed a couple of easy shots.
Is it tough to make adjustments during the course of a match, to move yourself from side to side, move the ball from side to side?
Not really. I mean, I'll just move over one board or so. But, I was dropping the ball a little bit, too.
Congratulations for your appearance in the Tournament of Champions. As I mentioned, $50 in bonus money, a couple of $100 as runner-up today, and hope to see you again soon. Gary Santora from Auburn, Massachusetts, our runner-up here this afternoon. And now Shawn Baker, today's winner, will bowl a bonus ball, and we'll try to match him up with a viewer from home in a $50 cash jackpot.
Is that 3? Should be ashamed of yourself.
A 3.
All right.
A 3, and let's see how we did. We didn't match, I can tell you that. Violet Frothingham from Salisbury, Massachusetts, guessed 8. And on any other occasion, Shawn Baker probably would have got an 8, but this time he got a 3. Consolation prize for Violet. And Lorraine Ruthier from Claremont, New Hampshire, wins 10 free strings of bowling here at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. Let's bring Shawn in a little bit closer. You've been red hot lately, winning the Easter tournament here at Leda Lanes and advancing here this afternoon. What's been the secret to your success lately?
Just try to stay focused, and when you're throwing a good ball, you just ride it as long as you can, and just put the ball on the head pin. Everything, when you're riding good, the pins just seem to explode. So
we were talking to Gary about making adjustments during the course of a match. Do you find yourself having to do that very often, adjusting where you're standing and where your release point is?
Yeah, sometimes if you're coming in tight on the head pin, or you got to try to do something. Even not necessarily move or something, just in your mind try to fix it.
Do you favor one lane over the other here, 33 or 34, or do you find one more favorable to your delivery?
No, like I said, as long as I'm putting the ball in there, it really doesn't matter what lane it is.
Next week, you climb up and take on 3rd seed Don Richmond. We'll see you then. Shawn Baker from Lynn, Massachusetts, our winner here this afternoon. He'll be back next week to climb the ladder.
It doesn't really get any easier. It never does. At least on paper, Don Richmond came into the 403 triple to win his ladder series several months ago. So we've got Don Richmond, Rich Clark, who finished 2nd in the Easter Sunday Singles Classic a few weeks ago, and Jackie Ray. We'll see him in a couple of weeks at the top of the Tournament of Champion ladder.
Shawn Baker defeats Gary Santora 367 to 349 this afternoon. Next week, it's Don Richmond as the Tournament of Champions continues. For Mike Moran and our entire WNDS TV 50 crew from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, I'm Dick Lutz. Thanks for watching Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We'll see you next week on week 3 of the Tournament of Champions at Leda Lanes in Nashua. So long, everyone.